looking at each other. It'll be better.
I'm facing you!
Okay, that's on film.
I'm sweating. The fan's on, actually. Is that going to cause a problem with the audio?
Oh, God.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, it's probably better if we turn it off, but...
Sweat crying.
Can you hold that while I do this?
Yeah. I'm warm. It's me warm.
Okay. Alright. Is that part of the anagram?
Happy Saturday, and it's not even Saturday. I was going to say Happy September, and I said Saturday. We're all having that day.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Okay, people, we're talking about suicide. Get your shit together.
Prevention.
Preventing it. Alright. Okay.
Oh my God, what is happening?
The giggles. We have the giggles.
Holy
Okay.
shit.
This is just recording, right? So I just need to start talking. Alright. So, Yoga Rebels here, Burg and Lauren, and it is September, which means it is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And so, as such, we are going to talk about an anagram. Lauren?
Yes. So this is an anagram that you can use to determine if somebody is potentially suicidal, which is a good thing to know because suicide is real. It's a problem. It's something that the more we talk about, the more people will feel safe opening up about. So if you notice some of the things that we are going to talk about today and a friend, we'll talk a little bit about that too, reach out, say something, talk about it. So we're trying to reduce the stigma. So this particular list was given after a lot of clinical study from the American Association of Suicidology. So the anagram is path warm, which doesn't really make sense, but it's an anagram. It doesn't have to.
Right.
So the first one is ideation. Suicidal ideation is basically just any kind of thoughts of suicide, self-harm, so not wanting to be here. So it might just be passive in nature. The second one is S for substance abuse. So typically people that are abusing substances, whether it's alcohol or any kind of drugs whatsoever, they're not feeling great. So if you're noticing even that somebody is increasing the usage of alcohol or drugs or really any kind of substances at all, that's one thing to look for as well. So essentially, all of these can be signs or symptoms that somebody is currently feeling suicidal, but each individual one is not necessarily a determining factor. So it's the combination of these things together. P for purposelessness. So if you have a friend or family member that's talking about how they are feeling like they're a burden or they are...
You just keep on talking. I'm going to figure out how to spell it.
You don't have to spell it properly. It's okay. So if somebody's talking about how they feel like they don't have a purpose in life, they feel like they're a burden on others, that is actually a really good indicator that something's going on with them. A stands for anxiety, and this is really excessive anxiety. So we're not talking about, oh, I feel nervous because I have a test tomorrow. We're talking about excessive anxiety, possibly lots of panic attacks, things like that, in conjunction with some of these other things. But the T stands for trapped, so feeling trapped. Someone might express to you that they feel like they don't have any way out of their current situation, whether it's a job, whether it's their living situation, but it's something that you can clearly see that they're not really trapped in. H is for hopelessness. You have a friend or family member that is expressing that they feel like life is hopeless, or they feel hopeless. That's probably one of the major indicators, I would say. So some of these can happen out of the context of this, but there are a few I'll go over at the end that are pretty significant markers. So withdrawal, W for withdrawal. So maybe they just don't want to go out, that's one thing, but maybe they're literally just not leaving their house. Maybe they are not available by phone, text, internet, any of the things, and you haven't seen them in a while. A is for anger. So this is excessive anger. So we all get angry.
Yeah, little angry eyes.
R is for recklessness. So this is one that could kind of vary depending on the person, but recklessness might be doing things that are literally dangerous. So they're engaging in activities that could literally kill them or harm them in some way. for no really good reason, because there's really never a good reason to be reckless, but if it seems like it's becoming
But
a
it's a
pattern.
difference than like an extreme sport. Like,
Right, yeah. Yeah, so just that overall sense that it doesn't matter if they do something that's really dangerous.
Yeah.
And then M is for mood changes, and that is changes to either really up or really down depending on the person. So there are a few different groups that are at higher risk. So in general, men are at higher risk than women. There are certain jobs and populations that are at higher risk. So a really high risk population can be those who are in emergency responder types of positions, or nurses, things like that. They have some of the higher rates of depression and anxiety, which can lead to that. People under the age of 24. So 18 to 24 is a pretty critical age for people as well. So there are a lot of different factors. But
I've also heard farmers.
farmers, I heard that too. Why is that?
Because their jobs are at risk right now.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Financially.
So I guess the point of talking about all these things is just to be aware of them, but also just to keep talking about it, because the more we talk about things like this, the less stigma there is around it, because the number one reason that people don't tell somebody that they're feeling suicidal is stigma. They don't want the stigma attached to it. So they might be suffering with one or several of these things, and they say nothing because they feel like if they do, that they're going to be judged. So the more you can be a rebel and speak out about mental health and all of these different things and normalize the discussions, the less likely you are to find out that somebody has been experiencing these things. So you'll find out sooner, and you can check in with them. And we'll probably have to provide some links. So there are there are lots of different resources. So there's the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. They have
Maybe it'll show up here.
You can call, you can text. They have chat now. So I know a lot of millennials, Gen Z folks don't love the phone. I hate the phone. I don't like to talk on the phone.
I don't talk on the phone.
And I think if I was experiencing a combination of these things, I certainly wouldn't want to make a phone call. But you can do that by text or chat now. We now have the Trevor Project, so LGBTQ Youth especially are much higher risk. LGBTQ folks in general at higher risk, but youth especially. So check in with your friends. Check in with your friends and family, especially younger folks that are in any of these higher risk groups. Make them aware of these different resources. We have different resources depending on where you're watching this. So in Columbus, we have NetCare if somebody is in crisis. Or if you're not in Columbus, you can always go to your local emergency room or call one of the numbers that we've listed. But ask for help. Ask for support. I think that's the biggest thing. And the flip side of that is don't make people that are experiencing these things feel like they need to have all of the control. So it's up to us, people that are willing to talk about it, to be asking questions, checking in, and making sure people are okay. I'm not saying we have to be their therapist, but I think there's this message that gets across where it's like, if you're feeling any of these things, you have to speak out, which kind of puts a lot of pressure on people. If you're feeling a combination of these things, you're probably not feeling like reaching out to people. So that leaves it up to us as yoga rebels in general, to just talk about this shit. Like, keep talking about it. So if you're talking with a friend or family member that is experiencing some of these things, and they do express to you that they are having some kind of suicidal ideations, or they're actively feeling suicidal, there are a lot of things you can do. The thing that you do not do is approach them in a way that is confrontational or aggressive. So,
like, you would never be like, are you feeling suicidal?
Right. You're coming with me to the hospital.
That's a put off.
Yeah. So be a friend, be a family member, be an advocate, and just be a good person about it. Say, do you feel safe right now? That's a really easy one to do. If they don't feel safe, maybe it's a trip to the hospital. And the thing about that, too, is just destigmatizing the fact that lots and lots and lots of people go to the hospital for mental illness stuff. It's okay. That's why it's there. So kind of just destigmatizing and saying, hey, I'm here for you. If this is really something that's scaring you, we have options. We have places we can go. And I will go with you. I'll sit with you in the waiting room. Whatever you need to do. So it can feel scary and gross and icky to talk about this stuff, but talking about it could be the difference between somebody staying alive. So it's worth it.
Yep.
Worth it to talk about the icky stuff. talk
Yep.
about the icky stuff.
Yes, that's what we do.